What's up, everybody? Alex from Columbus. Welcome back to episode 23. I think 3, maybe 4. It doesn't matter. It's going to say of What's on Tap, the weekly vinyl music community rap thing. What are we drinking? Well, as the title will tell you, I'm finishing up the Trillium game. I've been drinking a lot of Trillium recently. That has been featured on a number of these episodes. And here's the last one remaining. It is your standard Stillings Street IPA, 7.2% alcohol by volume, 16 ounces. Now, I'm sure there's been some changes. I believe this is, I don't want to say one of the OGs, but when they started, everything that they were naming were streets in Boston. I'm assuming Stillings Street is a name in Boston, but they had Congress Street. They had all these different streets all throughout downtown Boston. So if there are any Boston people out there watching, you tell me. But hey, it's the haze craze. Gosh, after this, we're going to go big time into stout season, man. It's going to be a lot of dark beers from here on out. But while I still got these, man, I'm going to drink the haze all the time. We got some proper glassware rocking here with our Trillium glass. There's some juice for you. Look at that. Some people were kind of like leaving comments. They're like, I've never seen a beer look like that before. I mean, that's what's crazy, right? You find the right breweries that do hazies the right way, and it looks like nothing else. I mean, yeah, you can tell people that that's a beer. Are you kidding me? Look at that, man. Jason, I know you're watching. And, I mean, they just smell fantastic. I use this as a reference sometimes, and I don't know why I say it, but, like, in a really good way, it has, like, this, like, wet sock, better than a crusty sock type of aroma. I don't know what hops they're using. I wouldn't be able to, I'm not one of these guys that's like, it smells like Cascade and, Galaxy or whatever. But it smells juicy. It smells fruity. It smells citrusy. More like orange rind. Anyway, looks amazing. Look at that little juice bomb. Cheers, everybody. Happy Friday or Saturday or whenever it is you're watching it. It's Friday for me. Cheers. Amazing. Fantastic. I mean, I find myself, truthfully, preferring, like the double IPAs, like the ones that are like, 8%, 8.2%, mostly because they just have a bigger body to them. And I'm a big bodied boy, so that's kind of what I like. I mean, this is amazing, delicious. One of my, and I hate to say it tastes thin. It doesn't taste thin, but like in comparison to those like pillowy, smooth. Still fantastic. Crushable. All right. Here's how we're doing this. Recent spins. And what I'm calling, I guess, like the best of the rest, which were some fairly recent pickups over the last several weeks that I haven't shown before. For those who don't know, did a bunch of videos with Americana Sam when he was up here. We did, I think, 2 videos on my channel and a couple of videos on his channel. His channel had some concert reviews and some other pickups and that sort of thing. But here's some of the stuff that I didn't show on my channel, as well as your standard What's on Tap, sort of what we've been listening to. So this is way overdue, but we need to talk about it. I saw the movie a couple of weeks ago. Let me start with this. I love this record. I love this album. Where does it fall in the Bruce canon? I mean, I don't know. I like a lot of Bruce records, but I really like this record too. This is obviously Vinyl Please version, RIP, or whatever they are right now. Great record. Okay movie. It was an okay movie. I'm curious what other people think. I think you can start with the beginning. There's probably a lot of people who went to the movie thinking it was like an actual Bruce Springsteen biopic. It is not. It is way focused on this record. And I think that's why a lot of people were looking forward to it who did go, just because they were really looking forward to this record. And there's some great parts, right? I think that's the big thing. There are some really great parts of the movie. And then there's some other parts that I'm just like, meh. This is not a meh record. I really love this record. And yeah, I'm glad that even if the movie is, I'll call it mediocre plus, right? Mediocre plus. It's not bad. It's just not great for me. But I am glad that this record is getting sort of the notoriety and the exposure that it has long deserved. So yeah, I'm all in on Bruce's Nebraska, and that's what we do. These next two, this is a shout out to one of my favorite YouTube channels out there, Mark Morris. What a man, what a fine man he is. A couple of weeks ago, he was showing some records. I forget if he was doing a thread or a contest or just showing some recent pickups. I don't know, but he showed a couple records and I was like, dang, I love both those records. I'm going to spin them in honor of Mark Morris. So the first one goes back to 1985, and it is the Waterboys, This Is the Sea. This was a record that got put on my radar by Steve, A is for Alice, B is for Bob, years ago. I know this is like a top 10 record of all time for him. I had heard of the Waterboys. I don't know if it was because like I never took them seriously because of their name or because it reminded me of that like, you know, water park movie with what's his face, Dances with Wolves guy. You know the one, Kevin Costner. There's a lot of references happening there. I just didn't know. And I remember seeing it. I mean, again, this was years ago. I remember seeing it in a store and texting him. And I say, hey, is this a good price for the record? And he's like, yeah, it is. And I really love it. I mean, this sort of big sound of the 80s, whatever you want to call it, really kind of difficult to describe. You know, it's not post-punk by any means. You know, it is a sort of rock pop situation. I forget the name of the other one I need to get. And then I think before and after those 2 or 3 records, they sound a little bit different. But I really love this record. This Is the Sea. Mike Scott doing some work on here. I think he is the lone member that's still with the band today. They actually put out a really good record this year. What's Eating Gilbert Gottfried or whatever it's called. It's so stupid. I'm just a fucking idiot. Anyway, This Is the Sea, amazing. And the other record that he showed, of course, is a classic. I need to do a bigger deep dive into this record. I really like this record, and I really like Van Morrison, much to Ben Rankin's chagrin. But this record is put on this pedestal that I don't know that I personally get yet. And here's the thing. I say this as like a pretty big Van Morrison fan. Like, I love, you know, like the 5 records that came out after this. I love up to like Veed and Fleece. Amazing. And I love all those records. And this is so great. I don't know how this compares to them, but it is interesting where I have to kind of do maybe some soul searching, is that this is viewed as such like this artistic, you know, expressive perfection of a thing. And I probably just need more time with it. And that's sometimes what it takes, right? It just takes a little bit more time to dig into these sort of things. I don't know, you know, maybe it's because I'm coming from like a fan of jazz. And so when a lot of people are like, oh, it's like, it's like a big, this jazzy sprawling thing. I'm like, I don't, just because Richard Davis is on there doesn't, but the point is yeah, again, I like the record. I'm not saying I don't like this record. I am just waiting to my point where it clicks with me, where I'm like, oh yeah, that is Van the Man, twerking hard and twerking often. Let's go to something completely different. This is actually funny because this was playing when Americana Sam was arriving, which is hilarious because it is Opeth, Blackwater Park. Arguably what a lot of people would say is Opeth's magnum opus, maybe their best record. It's up there for me for sure, but obviously this is such a important, meaningful record in the transition and trajectory of the band, produced by Steven Wilson. Just brilliant progressive death metal with some, bits and pieces of maybe some progressive folk thrown in there. But, Leper Affinity, Bleak, Harvest, Drapery Falls, Blackwater Park, the title track, just absolutely incredible. And I'm giggling because this is, again, what was playing when Sam showed up. And if you know Sam, he's coming, he's listening to like the Lumineers and Ronald McDonald and Foghorn Leghorn and his little CD player, and he walks in and Alex has got Opeth blaring. We had a good time with it. We certainly did have a good time with it. Let's get a little jazzy, shall we? To the original jazz classic series. It's groovy. The Red Garland Trio. Paul Chambers and Art Taylor. So, At this point, you are talking, God, what year is this? 57. So, Red Garland at this point is about to be or is going to be part of Miles Davis's first great quintet along with Paul Chambers. But this is just perfect piano trio music. I mean, Red Garland is just one of the bests, and obviously this is part of this whole audiophile Kevin Gray cut masterpiece stuff. A lot of jazz talk going on out there about people who like jazz, hate jazz, does it suck, all that type of stuff. One thing that I've learned from the vinyl community out there is that there's a conception out there that people make a choice to like jazz because they think it has some sort of like social, I don't know, something with it. I don't know if that's true. I say that of like, I don't know that in 2025 people will lie and say and spend their hard-earned money to buy and listen to jazz for some kind of social status in 2026 on YouTube. I don't know. I think people just like to hate on what other people enjoy. Anyway, let's keep it moving. Wow, second Vinyl Me Please of the day. I kind of like showing this one. This is my go-to Doors debut. I have a couple of copies, but they're a little bit beat up. They're old originals, whatever. I thought Vinyl Me Please did a great job with this. I love that it came with this like bonus 7-inch of Light My Fire, Crystal Ship, or something like that. I forget exactly the story behind it. But was this what they tried to do in mono? Maybe not. Maybe. No, they did do this in mono. Again, I'm not an audiophile. I was a member of Vinyl Me Please for a long time. And I always, again, kind of appreciated what they did with this packaging. Because it comes with this, like, French, I think, single that is Light My Fire, Take It As It Comes, and the Crystal Ship. Is this on colored wax? Oh, it's clear. Look at that. So, yeah, I like that, right? Like, that's some cool packaging. That was a rare Vinyl Me Please dub, if you will. I think they did a great job with that. And it's just a great record. So, yeah, all that later. Let's move into maybe one of the most underrated bands of all time. Focus. Man, Jan Ackerman. Nobody talks about Jan. Nobody talks about Jan. Focus Live at the Rainbow. This was, 73, 74, something like that? It looks like it was recorded in 73, so probably released later that year. Yeah, single live record, but kind of in their heyday. And this is hilarious, too, because this is where they're playing Hocus Pocus at, like, double speed. And it's already a fast and rickety tune, and then they're just ripping more double speed. Hey, I played this because I did a thread or a contest entry for John, the 6-inch pianist, and I was doing some needle drops on some records, and it just inspired me to want to play this record. And that's Black Market Brass. This is just such an absolute smoker of a record. If you like this out there kind of Afro beat, jazzy fusion, just instrumental nonsense, this is so spectacular. Of course, a great cover. Somebody in the comments told me it reminded them of oh God, I'm blanking on the name because I suck. But anyways, it does look like that record. It totally looks like that record. But man, this is so good. Coal Mine Records. This was, or I'm sure it was probably Karma Chief. What was the? It was Coal Mine actually. Coal Mine 1223. So pretty early in the Coal Mine canon. But man, this is just spectacular out there. Amazing stuff. A lot of out there spectacular, amazing stuff. How about 1968? Well, not really before the Joker. Well, kind of, yeah. Anyway, it's Sailor, Steve Miller Band. I love those first 5-6 Steve Miller Band records. The later commercial stuff's great too, but him with Boss Skaggs on this record, great stuff. A lot of people don't know that Steve Miller Band had a full career before he was out there joking on people's faces and stuff. And that old Rainbow Capital label. Sailor's amazing. Sailor might be my favorite of the early stuff. I love the debut. I love Brave New World. But Sailors up there too is just absolutely spectacular. Let's see. Let's keep it moving with some more recent stuff. I'm curious if this is going to end up getting some kind of like Rhino hi-fi reissue, reserve, whatever. But it is Fleetwood Mac Future Games. So kind of, if people care, I don't know if they do or not. A lot of times you'll see this in green. The green is the repress of it. The originals are on yellow. So if you see Future Games on yellow, that is like the original, first presses. The greens are the represses that came out, like a year or two later. So yeah, and look at that, some foreshadowing here on the penguin. Might be a penguin that comes later. I do like this sort of, Jeremy Spencer era. Danny Kerwin. Jeremy Spencer still on here? No, Jeremy Spencer. Bob Welch, I meant to say. I do love that Danny Kerwin, Bob Welch era. It's just so different, you know what I mean? But I am a fan of it. And last, I've been playing this a lot because it is creeping up towards top of the year for me. It's top 10. Is it creeping towards top 5? We'll see. But it is the latest from Canadian rock band Sloan. Based on the bestseller, incredible 2025 Canadian power pop. All writers, all singers, kind of in the vein of like 10cc in that way, or the Beatles, if you will. Don't necessarily sound like either of those bands, but there are definitely elements. There was definitely influence there. But yeah, in terms of the band where they're all singing, they're all playing, they're all writing, this is spectacular. I've been digging Sloan a lot. Okay, here are a couple of records that I've picked up recently. So I got this for about $15. It's a jazz record. I got it off Amazon. Don't care, because again, it was $15, and it's brilliant because it's Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, and it is like Someone in Love. Of course, part of the Blue Note Classic series. This came out originally in 1967. At this point, the Jazz Messengers were out of control. I mean, Art Blakey on drums, right? But you got Wayne Shorter on tenor, Lee Morgan on trumpet, Bobby Timmons, Jimmy Merritt. You can't go wrong with any of these. Spectacular. And again, it was like almost half off or something like that. So I picked it up and, add it to the jazz collection, even if I don't really like jazz and I just spend money on it to do so. Here are some of the other really banging pickups I had over the last few weeks that had not been showcased on other videos. This is a big one here. It is Chameleons, or the Chameleons UK, their second record, Strange Times. This came out in 1986. This is a promo copy that comes with a bonus sort of EP with it, which is super cool. I really like the Chameleons. I got a chance to see them several months ago opening up for the Psychedelic Furs. And the Furs were amazing, but something about the Chameleons, they're just a little bit darker, a little bit heavier, a little bit more atmospheric. And their early records, this and Script of a Bridge, are difficult to find. And now I'm happy to say I have both of them. So yeah, really happy to snaggletooth that. Here is a really cool find from a lost Ohio band from the 70s. I actually think they're from Columbus, and the band is Raven, and this is Back to Ohio Blues. This originally came out in 1975 as a private press. It was recorded by OWC, I guess, recording studios in Columbus, and it was reissued by Permanent Records, so they're kind of one of these new reissue labels that specialize in this sort of old, lost, found tapes, all that kind of stuff, hard rock, blues. And this is a pretty bluesy record for sure. I mean, especially for 75. Super bluesy, not overly heavy, but just kind of gritty, down blues, hard, heavy rock and roll. So it's really cool stuff. What was a fun surprise was that very cool vinyl there. Yeah, you can't go wrong. Really cool stuff. So really happy with that. Here's I guess a fusion record that has been on my want list for years. And for whatever reason, I was never able to find it, and it bothers me. It took me so long because it's just one of the best. And it's Pat Metheny's Bright Size Life. I mean, this is, if you're a jazz fusion / jazz fan, this is almost like mandatory. It's up there with like, Kind of Blue and that sort of stuff in terms of like, you need the record in your collection. Just rocking the trio here with Jaco Pastorius on bass and Bob Moses on drums. This is so beautiful. This is so good. Pat's one of the greatest to ever do it. This is such a great record, and I think is needed for any sort of collection. Let's keep it moving here. These records are tough to find and they're expensive, which is why I don't have a ton of them. I think this is now my third or fourth record, but I do like the band a lot, especially the early stuff. And it's Hawkwind, Hall of the Mountain Grill. I think this came out in 1973, maybe. This was right before. I think Lemmy is still in the band, and obviously before he went on to do the Motorhead stuff. But yeah, I mean, spacey, proggy, weird, psychedelic, light a doobie, great cover, whatever you want to do. I always want to call it Hall of the Mountain King, but it's Hall of the Mountain Grill, which then gets me thinking about like hiking a mountain and flipping burgers or something. You know, here's a record I see all the time. I hear people talking about all the time, and I never picked it up until recently, and I'm glad I did because it is a smoking record. But it's Bang Bang, your Terry Reid. Terry Reid, you know, there's a lot of the story, urban legend or not, whatever you want to call it, that he was supposed to be the original singer or the singer in Led Zeppelin. I'll let somebody else confirm or deny that. On that classic old yellow Epic label, just good kind of, you know, bluesy rock and roll, man. I don't know what else to say about it. Bunch of covers on here. Does a great version. Great 10-minute versions of Season of the Witch, Summertime Blues on there. Bang Bang, My Baby Shot Me Down. Was that Sonny Bono? Anyway. Yeah, it's just great stuff. So yeah, I'm really glad I picked this up. It was a good price. Sometimes I see this and it's like absurdly expensive. I think I paid $15 for that. So, you know, whatever. And last and not least, this was certainly one of the cool finds. And this is an original UK pressing of T-Rex's. Well, I guess it's the debut from T-Rex, but as Tyrannosaurus Rex, I think it's their 5th record. But this came out in 1970. This was right before Electric Warrior. They're kind of coming off of their psychedelic, folky kind of stuff, and introducing more rock. Produced by Tony Visconti. And yeah, this still sounds like the Tyrannosaurus Rex stuff. But again, after this is when they would go full glam. You know, I do like this record. Big reason I picked this up and why it was kind of like a really cool pickup was the fact that it's an original UK on that Fly label, which I just think is the damn coolest. So for any UK folks watching out there, we love the Fly label, and it's a Fly time. So there you go. Now I got to clean up a bunch of fucking records because that's what we do. Thanks for watching, everybody. Another one of these stupid episodes where I drink beer and talk about music and make passive-aggressive comments. It's my favorite pastime. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Stay cool and stay warm. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.